they look like this look comes over them, like they start. I think they're calculating. What can I eat? What can I not eat? I couldn't do that. No, that's not something that's. I have to have my ice cream after dinner. I have to have my muffins. I have to have my bagels. I can't do without my bread. We have a whole healthcare system that wants to embrace the people who don't take a chance. They want to be there to hand you a pill. Don't worry about it. Your blood pressure is a little high. You should start, you should eat less. You should lose a little weight. That's as far as it goes. But in the meantime, because we know you're not going to lose weight, take a pill. Take a pill. It's like they want good patients. They want patients that behave. And, you know, take the pills, and it's okay if you're a little overweight because, hey, the doctor that you're talking to is probably overweight too.
Stanley, how did you find carnivore?
Well, it's been a journey, as many of your guests have indicated in the past, and you yourself. Um, I think the simple answer is it was Michaela or Jordan on Rogan. That's what really got my interest. And just the idea that somebody could live only on meat. And I kept wanting to know more about Michaela, particularly when she was talking about her journey and her difficulties that she experienced through her childhood and early adulthood. And I kept going around the internet looking for uh, what does she really eat, because I'm hearing that she's eating meat, but that can't be all that she's eating. What else does she eat? What does she eat during the course of a day? What does she eat during the course of a week? What other foods is she adding in? And I couldn't find any information about additional foods that she was eating. Turns out, to my shock, it was only meat, and ruminant meat at that. So I found it quite hard to believe. Um, and then hearing what Jordan was saying, um, it started to kind of get traction with me. And I started looking more into it myself. And of course, I came across um, the people that we all know and hold dear is Ken Berry, Anthony Chafee, one fellow who's relatively new, like yourself, is Old Guy Carnivore. I really enjoy his videos. And, he's 70s. He just turned 77 and he's thriving. So I had been on low carb kinds of diets in my past, and I thought I'd give it a try. I'm about 5'11", and I think I started about a year and a half ago on very low carb, almost carnivore, about a year and a half ago. And I think I'd gotten up to about 215, and I was always happy around 195. If I could hold it about 195 or a little less than that, I was okay with that. But gosh, when I got serious about the low carb carnivore, I hit 195. I was happy with that, and then I was creeping up on 190, and well, okay, I can do this. Then I got into the high 180s, and then the mid 180s, and like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling good, and I'm just going to keep eating the way I've been eating. And I got into the low 180s, and then boom, I cracked into the 70s, 170s, and my gosh, I hadn't seen this weight, and I couldn't remember the last time I was in the 170s. And then I hit 175, and then 170, and now I hold around 166 to 168, which I think I was in my early 20s or late teens the last time I was at that weight. Of course, I don't have the muscle tone. I'm 70. I'll be 71 next month, and but I'm staying active. I'm doing my regular exercise routine in the morning. I do my push-ups and my kettlebell swings, and I'm pretty good about doing a 2 to 3 mile walk every morning. And so I think as far as my abilities and physical strength, I'm doing okay, and holding at these lower weights. As far as what got me to this point of the journey, um, like a lot of people, I in the early, in the, but the mid '80s, late '80s, I read a book called Diet for a New America by John Robbins, and he was or is the heir to the Baskin Robbins um, Corporation, which is in America. It's a huge ice cream company, and he kind of, I think he disinherited himself from the family and the family legacy because he was speaking out against the dairy industry and speaking out about against uh, meat eating and being carnivore. So his book made sense to me at the time, and that's when I became vegan. And through me becoming vegan, um, my wife at the time got tired of making meals for me and making meals for the rest of the family. So um, she ended up becoming vegan along with the kids. And I think back horror of that. Um, but and I wouldn't do that again, of course, knowing what I know now. But that's the best I had. I thought it was the right thing to do. Um, then the veganism stopped when I felt like maybe I was missing out nutritionally, and read another book called Eat Right for Your Type, and turned out that my blood type, I should be eating meat, so I started incorporating a little animal protein into my diet, and not long, sometime after that, I came across a gentleman by the name of Ray Audette. And I don't know if many have heard of him. He wrote a book called Neanderthal. And his whole philosophy was going back to like Paleolithic times and what um, people were eating and how they were surviving back in those times. And his idea was, if you could kill it with a spear, knock it out of a tree with a stick, or dig it out of the ground with your spear, that was something you could eat and live and thrive on. So I started eating that way, and I kept pretty good track of. That was maybe in the '90s, uh, early 2000s. My weight had crept up after early success with the veganism and that sort of thing, and eating a lot of carbs, and that incorporated back into my life. But I went on a low carb, like paleo kind of diet, and well, the weight fell off, and I got into the 190s, which I was happy with at the time. But uh, then I went in a routine of um, trying to behave myself during the week, and then overeating on the weekends. And Sunday night rolled around, and I regretted it every time because I just ate out of boredom, and it was the weekend, so I could eat whatever I wanted and as much as I wanted, and I would. And it was painful. I think back on those times as well, and you know what we do to ourselves, right? So that got me to the point where that was my life up until about a year and a half ago. Not much to add to that. I'm a retired chiropractor, and I'm still in business. I have created products that have become commercial successes. And during the time of practice, one device that I uh, prototyped early and was uh, red light and light therapy devices that were hardly heard of in the late 90s when I was experimenting with this in my practice and on my patients. And then I got this notion that high speed vibration therapy would be helpful to my patients. There were devices that were low speed percussion type devices, but that didn't really seem to produce the benefits and results that I felt could be achieved. So I developed high speed vibration. And then I remember saying to patients who were benefiting from these therapies, uh, because I had struggled with weight off and on, and I said, um, uh, my next product or idea is to how to assist people in losing weight that can be reproduced and work easily without, let's say, the pain of having to exert willpower to curb your eating and dietary intake. So I remember saying that to several patients. I wanted to do that. I wanted to find the hack for doing that. And one of the things that has been said many times on, I've heard your guests say it and others on other YouTube channels and others, is that if you're a drug addict, it's easy, not easy, but just don't do the drugs. If you're an alcoholic, don't drink. If you're a gambler, don't gamble. I mean, easier said than done, of course. However, you can live without gambling. You can live without heroin. You can live without alcohol. You can't live without food. So, what's the solution? And of course, we know what the solution is, it's eliminating the carbs. And on occasion, when I've had discussions with others about diet, because I've had a lot of people say, Stan, you've lost a lot of weight. How did you do it? You know, I will tell them, and I get to where I begin to maybe sound a little preachy because I have had so much success with it, and I think it's what a lot of people should do. But like you've said and others, it's like, oh, that's great for you, Stan. I'm happy for you. That's something that you can do. I couldn't do that. Or if I get into the mode of we don't need fiber, we don't need carbohydrates. Um, they look like this look comes over them like they start. I think they're calculating. What can I eat? What can I not eat? I couldn't do that. No, that's not something that's. I have to have my ice cream after dinner. I have to have my muffins. I have to have my bagels. I can't do without my bread. And I used to feel that way too. One of my favorite things used to be hot toast with lots of butter, almond butter, uh, pizza, a big bag of Lay's potato chips, you know, sit down there and like a robot, just watching TV and eating those terrible foods. But with this lifestyle, it's been said many times in many ways, but I completely agree. It's quite phenomenal that I can have bacon and eggs for breakfast, and I do drink coffee, and I'll have it with either half and half or heavy cream, depending on what I feel like. But 5 o'clock rolls around, and that's about the time that I like to have dinner. And for the most part, I can have my dinner finish up at sometime before 6 o'clock, and I don't eat until breakfast. And I just thought that was just the most amazing thing that because in the old days, I'd have dinner and I half an hour later, I'm up snacking, and I, I just couldn't break that habit. Couldn't break that routine. Going back to the binging on weekends, when I started the carnivore lifestyle, that was the hardest thing for me was is breaking that 5 on, 2 off cycle. It's like I couldn't see a way to get through that. And as the longer I was in carnivore, I said, okay, well, this is just another day. I'm going to have my breakfast and I'll have my evening meal. And we live in a community where we have a lot of friends and a lot of barbecues and a lot of weekend activities, you know. And then the chips and the dip and the burgers and the pizza and all of that comes out regularly. And it's just another day. And if there's a hamburger grilling on the grill, I might have that alone. But beyond any temptation, I don't have any temptations in that regard uh, for the most part. Yesterday, Mother's Day, we had my mother-in-law over and my sister-in-law and her partner, and just a small group. But I had a little bit of pasta. I did make do some New York strip steaks, and but I kind of knew that going in that I was going to not necessarily cheat, but I was okay with that. I'll have a little carb here and there. I'm not very, very strict. Going back to old guy carnivore, I think he's doing phenomenal. You're doing phenomenal, and where they don't have old guy doesn't have any carbs at all. He hasn't had any carbs in over a year and a half.
The
Voice is
the point though with those few carbs that you're having though, the point is that it's controlled, right? So
yeah,
okay, well, I've got an event, so I'm gonna have this little thing and then it's done, right? It's not
right,
like you're not having a bit of pasta and then the next day you're having a bit more pasta and it's not the snowball thing, right?
right, right. In fact, I had that very conversation with my sister-in-law's partner, and she was saying that she's embarking on keto, and she's been keto off and on. My sister-in-law is going carnivore, um, through our conversations. And when I was having the pasta yesterday, I said, yes, this was a conscious choice that I made. I knew that my wife would be making this pasta salad. I decided I was going to have some. And so tomorrow morning, it starts over again. There's no, like you said, snowball effect. Um, on another note, just on a observation basis, um, we often talk about video film from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the beach scenes and the city um, life and people walking around, and people are always commenting about how thin the people were back then, and I agree. I think back. I was born in the 50s, and I remember those days. There were hardly any overweight kids when I was going to school. Um, it was rare, and I feel, as I look back, I feel bad because kids, as we know, are merciless, and they were the target of a lot of bad comments, let's say. But now it's kind of become mainstream. It's more common. But one thing that hasn't come up in any conversation that I've heard um, as to why that might be, we know that the food supply has changed in refined foods and the uh, readily available refined foods. They're on every street corner now and in every house, let alone the Costco sized containers that are coming home. But I thought, my parents were smokers. And I thought, back in those times, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, smoking was much more prevalent. And I remember as a teenager seeing people quit smoking. My parents quit smoking, and they both gained weight. And other people would stop smoking, and they would gain weight. And one gentleman that I'm thinking about, he quit smoking successfully, but instead of a pack of cigarettes in his breast pocket, he had a candy bar. So whenever he felt that urge, he would, some sugar, have a candy. So yes, the food supply has changed enough and has, infiltrated our dietary habits to such a large degree. Absolutely. But have we replaced one oral fixation with another? Because as smoking rates decreased, obesity rates increased. Seed oils, yes. Refined carbohydrates, yes. But I think that's another factor is that people are generally bored, in a lot of situations when they're having something to do with their hands, even if it's eating, that's doing something with their time. But that was just an observation that I had, and
If I could just say, I think there's something to that observation. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, when my dad gave up smoking, and he took smoking up again because he was putting on weight.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My dad never went back to smoking, but um, he did say from time to time when he saw somebody smoking, he was a little envious because he would think back to the times that he smoked, and I guess he got some kind of joy out of it. He enjoyed it, and he said, "In a heartbeat, if I if it didn't have an adverse effect on my health like it did, in a heartbeat, I'd take up smoking again, and I would love it." And I think sometimes I feel that way about the food situation. Man, it would sure be nice to sit down and have a big bag of chips or half a loaf of bread or a big bowl of pasta or whatever it might be. But one of the things that I realized when I embarked on carnivore a year and a half ago was the idea that I've had enough. I'm 70 years old. I've had enough pizza. I've had enough hamburgers. I've had enough French fries. I've had enough cake and ice cream and cookies in my life. When I look back at all of that junk that I've had enough. I think I can live the rest of my life without it. I've had my quota, let's say. And I don't see myself ever going off of this lifestyle. I've had some blood work done. And when I started, my cholesterol was kind of creeping up. And of course, my primary care is wanting to put me on statins. And then a few months later, having more blood work done, and my cholesterol really shot up. And LDL was, I think, pushing 300. And she was aghast, like, "Oh my gosh, I know you said you don't want to take statins, but I have to tell you, that, this is dangerous. Your cholesterol is incredibly high. She made a comment. She said, your blood must be like sludge, is the comment she made to me. So I don't have a problem with you eating meat, but it's got to be lean meat. You can't have eggs. Have the egg whites, no butter. And yeah, there's a little niggling voice in the back of my head going, we all know, we've all been indoctrinated with that idea that maybe she's right. Maybe I should um, change how I'm eating. Um, but, I decided to have ultrasounds done of my carotid and some other screenings done. And I do have some plaquing in my left carotid. The right is fine. And and I also decided I'd get a coronary artery calcium score. So I did that. And it's not perfect. It's pretty low. It's 32. Um, and by their scale, it's very mild. And one of your guests some time ago who was talking about these values made a comment. He said, I don't know if the elevator is going up or down. So I have a baseline. And then maybe a month or two, I'll have my carotids checked again. I'll go in for another coronary artery calcium score and and see where I'm at. And who knows? I mean, maybe they'll be better. Maybe the year that I was on carnivore before these screenings were done, maybe values were higher and they're on their way down. So I am aware of those things. I am keeping track. Um, I don't have, like many of your guests, I fortunately I've never really suffered with any major maladies, thankfully. And my heart goes out to all the people you've had on who have suffered, like yourself and many others. But I do have a history of seizure disorder, and I know that low carb has been beneficial for people suffering with seizure disorder. So I am aware of that, and I am taking medication for that. I'm taking the bare minimal dose, and the reason for that is there were such horrible experiences that if taking a couple little pills a day prevents that from having happening while I'm driving, um, it's a small price to pay. And like I said, I'm taking a very, very small dose. And frankly, I think at this point, with my lifestyle now, I feel confident that I could probably stop it, but maybe I will at some point down the line. I have had a little blood pressure issues, and that's definitely improved. I'm taking a fraction of the medication that I was taking initially. Ultimately, I believe I'll get off of it entirely and keep a healthy blood pressure. Um, so that's it. I take a little blood pressure medication. I take a little Dilantin for the seizure disorder, and I think I'm content. My wife is not part of the program. She's not a carnivore by any means. I joke that I'm the
Is she still vegan?
no, she's not vegan, but um, she eats essentially all carbohydrates. You know, she had her own health challenges about 2 years ago, and she had a ended up. If I'd known then what I know now, I might have been able to help her prevent having a hysterectomy. But she had a hysterectomy, and she has lost quite a bit of weight since that. And but I joke that I'm the carnivore and she's a carbivore, and that's I think I don't know if I'm the one who coined that, but we do joke about it. But we coexist. We do just fine. I'll have my steak and she'll have whatever she's going to have with her for her meal, and I do my own cooking, and we're kind of self sufficient in that regard. We um, As far as her being vegan, this is my second marriage with my. Well, we've been married for about 16. We've been together about 16 years with my second wife, and it's a whole other situation. But i- she's vegetarian, and as much as I try to share the benefits of my lifestyle with her, and hormonally how it could benefit her. But she's actually eating more eggs, so that's a start. That's something that she can benefit from.
I wonder, like, at this stage, you can't see any reason to go back?
To eating carbohydrates?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm almost. I wouldn't. I wouldn't say afraid. I would say I'm just reluctant to even entertain that idea. I'm doing well. My health is good. My weight is good. My blood pressure is coming down. Thankfully, I don't have any other health issues. I felt like I was beginning to have some kind of prostatic hypertrophy and with the urinary flow. But any hint that that was becoming an issue has dissipated, particularly since starting this lifestyle. And I have a good friend who's been through horrible things with his prostate, and he could certainly benefit from this lifestyle, but I don't I don't know what it would take, but he has no interest whatsoever in making any changes, and even though I feel like it would help him immensely.
Mm. So, I mean, as someone who's been on this for a year and a half, um, what would your pitch or recommendation be to people about why they should go on this style of eating?
That's a good question, and I know you ask this of all of your interviewees, but I think I just try to be an example, and I don't want to preach. I don't want because it's useless. I've learned, as many of your other guests have learned, it's it doesn't. There has to be a reason they want to, and it's Dr. Barry's "What is your why?" And I can't tell you what your why is. You have to figure that one out for yourself. You know, I'm thinking about another fairly close friend, and his wife is showing strong signs of dementia and Alzheimer's. And I had this conversation with him, and I shared videos with him, but it falls flat. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the indoctrination that's just too strong and it runs too deep in our society, that we've been told for all these decades now that fat is bad. You're going to get colon cancer, you're going to have a heart attack, you're going to have all these issues. It runs deep, and it's hard to overcome that conditioning. And it's really phenomenal when you think about it, the amount of conditioning that has gone on with you personally. We all experience it. We all have had exposure to it, to the indoctrination. But somehow you and me and your 400 other guests, somehow we've kind of separated ourselves from that indoctrination and taken an exterior view of things and looked at it critically and made these decisions consciously to make these dietary changes. And anything can happen to anybody at any time. I mean, anything can happen, with any diet.
Mm.
But, you know, I think I'd rather live this lifestyle and have a quality of life up to the very end versus clinging to life and have no life.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Um, yeah, I agree with you as well that the indoctrination is just so strong. Um, and I'm trying to think, what is it that separates people that do find carnivore
Right.
from others? But I mean, for me, it was really simple. It was just like I'd tried every diet under the sun and had no success, and I was just like, "Okay, well, I'm willing to try doing this Atkins thing because
Right.
nothing else works." And then I didn't need any further pushing because then my body was responding to it. So my body was saying to me, "Yes, this is right. Keep doing this." And so I think if people can just put themselves in the position where they give it a chance to work, then they don't need anything else, but they just gotta get to that point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think this thought just occurred to me. I'm not a big risk taker, but I do take risks. I do, you know, I, in my early days of practice, I took a chance, and I opened my own practice, and I was in business for myself for a very long time. And then as one, as my practice aged and I was finding less and less fulfillment in practice, these other ideas start popping into my head. And, maybe I can make a business out of these ideas that I have. So that's a risk. I left what was comfortable and took a risk. And then the vibration therapy company, that was a bit of a risk. I had to leave what was comfortable to try something new. And even at this age, I'm getting close to that again, even with the vibration therapy device and the company that's growing. I'm getting a little restless, to be honest, and I'm ready to. I still have ideas for products and things that can benefit people, and I think I need to entertain the idea of moving on and take another chance. And I think we have to be a little bit of a risk taker, to say, hey, let's leave behind what's comfortable, and we'll always have a safety net. You know, we have a whole healthcare system that wants to embrace the people who don't take a chance. They want to be there to hand you a pill. Don't worry about it. Your blood pressure is a little high. You should start, you should eat less. You should lose a little weight. That's as far as it goes. But in the meantime, because we know you're not going to lose weight, take a pill. Take a pill. It's like they want good patients. They want patients that behave. And, you know, take the pills. And it's okay if you're a little overweight because, hey, the doctor that you're talking to is probably overweight too. And they're taking those drugs. So, misery loves company. Heaven forbid you go off and try something new and take a chance and be in charge of your health. They would rather have you fat and medicated, but heaven forbid your LDL cholesterol be outside the normal values. And the criticism you get for that, but that's okay if you're 300 pounds and taking the drugs, you're okay. So we have to be critical thinkers. And I love Sean Baker's T-shirt. Nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah, it's a very good piece. So Stanley, how can people reach out to you? Do you have any social media or website or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on X.
No worries. So I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Stanley, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. Appreciate what you do, and always get something out of your interviews. And that's why I decided to do this with you today. Is maybe somebody gets something out of this conversation as well. Thank you.